Welcome into the Crypto Bunker podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the art of war, and I will be reading and interpreting from this famous book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. So if any of you haven't read this, I think it is something to think about reading. In Asia and in China, they actually make all businessmen read this book usually before they start at their job as part of their training, because a lot of sales is about strategy and deception and things like that. So the first thing that Sun Tzu mentions is laying plans. So the art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war is governed by 5 constant factors to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. So what I want you to be thinking about when I read these definitions, and we can talk about this in a minute, is Biden and Putin and comparing those two. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. Earth compromises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerely, benevolence, courage, and strictness. By method and discipline, which is the last one, are to be understood the marshaling of the army in its proper subdivisions, graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. So whoever basically wins within these 5 categories will usually win the war. And I don't know about you guys, but when I think of all of these, I think of moral law. I think Putin has that over Biden because a lot of the American people don't really believe in Biden as a leader. We think he's weak. We think he might have, some mental issues. There's just other things that he just doesn't seem to be like that. That good leader that everyone wants to follow into battle. And this is also the public too, where, it's not just the army, it's the public that has to be behind the war or behind the leader. And so some of the questions you can ask is, which of the 2 sovereigns is imbued with the moral law? I would say Russia. Even though a lot of the Russian people, maybe are a little bit afraid of Putin, I think at the same time that fear sort of has maybe kicked them into a disciplinary sort of mindset. And yeah, I think, even though, he's, communist, but again, I do think that the media sort of portrays him and Russia in a different way than maybe they actually are. Same with China. I think a lot of it is propaganda. I think that if anything, like we, as the United States, are the ones putting out propaganda, putting out lies, trying to, and maybe it's Russia too, trying to, get in there on Twitter and put some bots in there that sort of divide us as a country. And we'll get into that a little bit. That's part of the art of war as well, is dividing the country. Excuse me. And which of the 2 generals has the most ability? Probably Putin. I don't think Biden really has the experience with war as much, and just as strategic and the smarts, I think. But we do have, really good intelligence, and we do have good, I think, we employ a lot of people, in the army, like the Pentagon and things like that. So with whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth. And I would say that in this case, that is Russia, because heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. And so right now is about the time where Russia, it's very cold there, and they're used to that. And so they've defeated people in the past. They defeated Hitler and his army, and they also defeated Napoleon and the French army in the elements, because Russia is very good at being on their turf. So right now, I mean, if there actually is a war that breaks out, Russia has the upper hand in many of these categories because they are, again, this is their turf, and it's very cold there. So if there really was something that broke out, I think that they have sort of the best diversity of strategies there. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. Again, I think that Russia, because they have the submarines, I think that could fall into this category, that are probably even closer than we think. And to us, even, I think everywhere around the world, they have these submarines, most likely. I know that they have some that are, coming in on Ukraine, and then the commander, right? So, and then we have, on which side is the discipline most rigorously enforced? I would say probably, again, Russia. Which army is stronger? Probably ours, because we have the Navy. We have a bigger army, I think, and Navy combined. So if we really did have to get out there, I think we could. But I also think there's a lot of division within the army, and right now, people questioning our purpose really as America. Like, why would you go and volunteer right now to defend this country? Like, what would be your reasoning? I mean, the country is sort of feels to be a little bit falling apart. I think that it would be harder and harder, especially now that they're doing mandates for that, for certain things for the army, to not only take the mandate, but also have to go over and die for something that you're not really sure if it's taking place anymore. We're becoming less and less of a complete free country with liberties, and justice for all. And so I do think there's some question there. And so, which army is there greater constancy, but both in reward and in punishment? I'm not sure about that one. That's a tougher one. But he says, by these means of 7 considerations, I can forecast victory or defeat. And then one of the things is, all warfare is based on deception. And that's, I think, where we're at right now. We're in the fog of war right now, where we're hearing all these different media outlets come out and say, one thing, and then they say another thing, and you see all of these different reports that are coming out that that I would say are at best misinformation, disinformation, things like that. It's nothing is, all is fair in love and war. So I think we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens here. So another point is, hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. So this is a little bit of a difficult one, but right now, I don't know which one it would be. Are they near and trying to make them believe they're far away, or are they far away, but we must make them believe we are near? I think they might be right now. They're probably like mainly just sort of, they're probably more far away. They're definitely making us think that they are near. And so we may be deceiving, as Russians, they may be deceiving. And maybe the deception is to make people think that they are set for a battle, but then to maybe take out another um, form of war, which is probably cyber attack. And this is something that else is here. It says, attack him where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected. And that's where it sort of starts to come into play of what is going on here. Um, they say that the war is based on NATO, whether Ukraine will be part of NATO or if it will go back to the 1997 borders, where Russia has control of certain parts of Ukraine. Um, there's a lot of weird things in Ukraine. People say that George Soros is in Ukraine, and his kind of corruption that he's sort of been accused of throughout the years, in terms of just different things, elections, currencies, manipulating markets, things like that. By the way, George Soros, since this is sort of a financial channel, none of this is financial advice or any life advice or any advice, but he sold off. I think he sold off like most of his Nasdaq holdings. So I think, and that was maybe in October. He had $394 million in the Nasdaq and QQQs, and he sold it down to 9 million, which is like nothing. So that's a big percent. So again, follow the money, but kind of too late now, but maybe not actually. It's still decently early enough to reposition yourself, I would say, but that's not financial advice. So there's weird stuff that's happening in Ukraine. You have the Hunter Biden connections with Ukraine, and I think Russia has threatened to release documents and things like that in the past that they say they have on different events that have taken place. I'm not going to mention, but I think they have some information just from their cyber warfare, hackers, coders who are some of the best in the world. And I think that they have a little bit of a dirt on us, basically the dirt that maybe the deep state does not want people to see. And that's when it kind of comes into play of like, is Putin and Russia actually the good guys in this battle here? I mean, there's a lot of dynamics playing out that I don't think we know yet. We also have Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan almost turned into a banana republic overnight. In fact, I think it did. They took over banks. They burned down houses of officials, things like this in Kazakhstan when they were told that, the mandates are here, QR codes are here, you have to stay in your house. And the people just lost it. And they said no. And they just completely lost their minds. And I believe it's possible that Russia, and remember this, Kazakhstan is the #1 producer in the world of uranium. So Cameco, which is a uranium company, is located there. And I think it's called like Cigar Lake or something, although don't quote me on that, but where the mining is for the uranium there. So that's bordering Russia. So there's something going on there. So there's weird sort of corruption. And let me just throw this in there, since this is a crypto channel. We also have, strangely enough, a lot of Bitcoin being sent to Ukraine for funding for the war or something like that. And then we also had these Liechtenstein and Morgan got people from New York City who laundered $3.6 billion of Bitcoin, who they visited Ukraine and always said they wanted to move to Ukraine. So is there something going on with the Bitcoin sort of narrative with, Ukraine, and maybe, I know it's a lot of, this is just for entertainment purposes. This is not me speculating that this is true. And I also have to give a lot of credit to my geopolitical knowledge to John Perez, Silver is Money News on Telegram, if you want to check that out. But be prepared, because it's you have to, go into it knowing that there's a lot of conspiracies being thrown around and it's just for entertainment purposes. But it's also a good channel to maybe become awakened if you feel like you're at that point where you're like, okay, I want to maybe figure out a little bit more of what's going on behind the scenes. John's a great guy, and he also motivates people to be healthy. He's a former personal trainer, dieting stuff. So good person to know for sure. Another thing that Sun Tzu says is hold out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder and crush him. So holding out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder and crush him. So I think what this means is that, I think Russia might be, if they're following this, I think their best plan of action would be to sort of delay, uh, to sort of wait and see if someone else makes a move. And if any move is made, they have them right where they would want them. Because right now it's kind of just like a standoff, and there's negotiations and people talking, and there'll be ongoing negotiations. I don't think anything's going to happen right away at this point, but we don't know. We also know that the World Economic Forum and the elites have been saying, and the news and the media have been talking about a possibility of a cyber attack and a great reset. So just realize that if there was a cyber attack, we wouldn't know who did it because the power would be out or the grid would be off. There would be financial collapse. There would be all these things that would be distracting to, who did this. And so I think the US, we would immediately blame Russia because obviously this is the perfect time to do that. But at the same time, we know that the elites have already like pre-planned this. They've war gamed the cyber attacks twice in the past year, I think in July and December, where they've done pre-planned events, not like pre-planned, but exercises that would say, and the army has done exercises of what would happen in a cyber attack and a grid down. So we know that there's that connection. And so that's why for me, I'm not willing to, be traveling right now or to be, going anywhere maybe like too far outside of where I'm at. Because I think they're always, with the war with Russia, because they are known for these cyber attacks. And by the way, they just cyber attacked Portugal, I think, the other day, or at least there was an attack there. I think they had some grid down issues. And then in Germany recently, they had some issues. So, there's definitely strategy that Russia can implement that would be cyber attack that would sort of throw all of the armies off except theirs. And then they could just go in and take what they want. If they want to take Kazakhstan, if they want to take parts of Ukraine, they probably would be able to do that. And then we wouldn't really be able to stop them. But that would trigger some bad stuff. I mean, this is not something that I want to happen. I don't think you should either. But at the same time, you should be preparing. And like that's how I've always operated, to at least be prepared. I've been making moves for over 2 years, about 2 years now, since COVID. And it's not easy. Everything is a process. Like if you have to save money for a year and then buy a house, well, then that's what you have to do. If you save $1,400 a month, you're going to be able to buy a house in a year. You'll have $17,000 in the bank, $16,800. So if you save like half of all of the money you make, and you grow your own food, and you do some work on the side, you increase the amount of places that you're getting income. So for me, it's like, my salary job, and then doing Uber Eats, and then also maybe doing some training on the side for basketball players, coaching on the side, doing YouTube. Obviously, I don't make money off that now, but I am attempting to do that in the future. So these are all things that I think you should have like 4 to 6 different avenues that you're making income, and then you just continue to work towards that income every single day. And we all have the ability to do that. And so then, regardless of what happens, if you have your preps, if you have your physical wealth in your hands, gold, silver, cash, maybe some platinum. If you have your generators, your gas with fuel stabilizer, so it lasts 2 years. You have your maybe portable heater that's battery powered or something, or kerosene, propane powered. You have maybe a winter well stove where you can boil or cook things in a pan with just a couple pieces of wood and some fire. Obviously, you need lighters for that. You need paper to maybe start a fire. So these are just things to be thinking about in the possibility of a cyber attack. Obviously, storable foods. None of this is life advice, financial advice, or anything else. This is just for entertainment purposes only. And we're just talking, so, but this is just some ideas that I think are important in this time. And it might not happen. It might be like a Cold War situation, but the fact that they can pull a cyber attack without ever touching foot on our land makes it even more of a possibility. This is another one. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. So I think right now, there's a lot of evasion from Ukraine, from Europe, from France, from the US, from NATO, because they know that Russia this is their turf. They have the superior strength right now. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. So this is where I'm wondering if they've been putting out misinformation about vaccines. Maybe they've been playing both sides. Some people, are saying that. I mean, to be honest, like sometimes I wonder if InfoWars is misinformation, disinformation, or just not even that, but maybe just fear, because fear causes division as well. So if they wanted to put us in fear, they would put out misinformation about these different things, COVID, and maybe that is part of the plan. I'm not sure. So yeah, misinformation to divide Americans. I think this is the most divided we've ever been as a country. So it would be tough to go into a war right now because we're so divided. And a lot of people just would not volunteer to go to the war because they don't believe in what we're doing. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Again, this is sort of what I said about the cyber attack. These military devices leading to victory must not be divulged beforehand. Again, do they have some kind of technology that they're not telling us about that has to do with, cyber affairs? Not sure. I also thought it was interesting that this book says, it says you need 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is cost of raising an army of 100,000 men. We do know that, again, Russia, Putin and Russia, they have the gold, the silver, the platinum, the oil, the fertilizer, the wheat production. Ukraine is one of the biggest wheat producers as well, so they could be going after that. So they have a lot of resources. They provide, Germany with their natural gas. They provide Europe, I think, with natural gas. So there's really conflict here that, Russia sort of has the upper hand in a lot of these things. Another thing is poverty of the state causes an army to be maintained by contributions from a distance. Contributing to maintain an army at a distance causes the people to be impoverished. So that's what I'm thinking, is that because we were at war for so long in Afghanistan and Iraq, did it cause in poverty for us, which I think it did now. Over time, we're seeing the inflation finally come to pass and come to play here. So was being in that war for that long actually causing us to continue to print money, continue to boost up the military industrial complex into a point where now we are hitting this inflation mark where the people are impoverished, the division, and all that printing of money just actually divided us even more as a country, in terms of how much money and wealth people have, mainly because of asset prices. So, it really has divided people in terms of not being able to afford houses or afford, one share of the S&P 500, things like that, which, again, has caused poverty. On the other hand, the proximity of an army causes prices to go up, and high prices cause the people's substance to be drained away. This is kind of where we're at now, where our army is closer because we are now more reserved and back into our defensive position, and so I'm wondering exactly what that means. But we have seen that prices have gone up for oil in Germany, prices have gone up here for gas, food prices are rising. We're seeing less and less options at the store in terms of meats. For me, it's hard to find chicken breast. You can find like thinly sliced, but even those are rare. So it's not easy to find stuff now. When their substance is drained away, the peasantry, which is us most likely, will be afflicted by heavy exactions, which means demanding something. So payment or service, and you can kind of see this in like Canada, where they are demanding something right now. And maybe this happens in the US. I think it's kind of almost at a fever pitch. Well, not really, but maybe it's soon this year. If food inflation does increase and they do crash the economy with raising rates. So say they raise rates and say the stock market crashes, the economy crashes, people don't have enough saved money. They have a lot of debt. They've taken out debt on their houses. They've taken out debt on their credit cards, and they can't pay it back. They might not have a job. They thought that they could just make money trading crypto, whatever it is. This is where people have to sell assets to make all that back. So the riskiest things go first, which is crypto, unfortunately, for a lot of people here. This is why I said these are all reasons to have been out by now. I do think that there's still time, not financial advice, but to get out. So, or at least make it a lesser percentage of your total net worth. For me, I have staked ETH that I'm just going to continue to stake no matter what. And then I do plan to buy at some point when the fear is at the highest, like a very low price is what I'm hoping for. With the loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people will be stripped bare, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated, while government expenses for broken chariots and worn out horses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantles, drought, oxygen, and heavy wagons will amount to 4/10 of its total revenue. So again, if we do have to go to war, that would be bad because we're already in $30 trillion of debt. And that's, that counts for about $258,000 per American taxpayer citizen. And so again, this is an issue that could actually play out here. This is why we do not want war. So again, Putin has the gold, he has the silver, the platinum, the oil, the fertilizer, the wheat production. He's got the nickel production. So they have a lot of the resources that they need. And so they don't need to go anywhere. They have the means to sort of wait this out. And hopefully nothing happens. Hopefully there's no, provocative behavior from our side. And we'll see what happens here. And that was a lot of information. But sometimes it's entertaining to do something different than finances and charts and things like that. So hopefully you guys got something out of the video. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and, have a great day, and have a great rest of your weekend, and enjoy the Super Bowl.